flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Summer to winter in one weekend. We have the agenda before us, and I believe we need to amend the agenda a little bit this morning. Dean Kruger is sick, and we have two important items that was going to be talked about. So I'd suggest we remove the one at 836, dealing with the 28 agreement, small towns, and the discussion of ABCD ordinances.
I move, make that motion.
Okay?
I'll second.
All those in favor of the agenda with those changes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, we have the minutes from 11/16.
Motion to approve the minutes for November 16th.
Motion by Jerry. Second by Mort to approve the minutes of November 16th. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Well, I don't think Paul's gonna be here until about 8:45. We got a work session afterwards. We approved claims.
We have through the claims, we have claims of $253,244.57, and drainage of $2,282.35.
What was the second one?
$2,282.35.
That's pretty low for drainage.
Yeah,
Pretty
pretty
low.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick. Approve the claims. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Moore. Those in favor of approving claims as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Just a little reminder down at the bottom here, there'll be a bid letting for box culvert replacement Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. So those who can make it, I think it's right here in this room.
I think it is, isn't it? We can ask Paul, but I think he said up here.
While we're waiting on Paul, why don't we go ahead and do our reports? Go around the room. Paul might show up about that.
I didn't have any report for last week.
Okay. I met with, the gentleman from Story, Kenworthy, on furniture for the LEC again. We're working over a couple different layouts, wanna make sure we get it right. So I was hoping to do that with Dean today, but it sounds like he's sick, so we'll have to move that back a little bit.
What date was that, Rick?
That was, Monday.
Monday, okay.
Monday at 1 o'clock. And that's all I had, I think.
Just a quick comment before we move on, since we got a little time. I did go down and look things over. I hadn't been down there since they started laying brick, and they are moving along. It looks like they still got a lot of interior work, but they're working on flooring right now and stuff. So I got to see the change order on that walkway and why they had to do it. I mean, it's a little more explanatory when you get down there and see what they had to do, and they had to add on that end of that building there a little bit. And it's amazing how much wiring and stuff it takes. I did see that rack we talked about buying to lay all that wire, and it makes kind of...
They got that put in.
Yeah, and they're using that. So that really makes sense when you start, because when you start laying all that wiring up there, and if you don't have that rack, you'll notice also they've got the sprinkling system, which, you know, there's moisture and condensation. I mean, there's things that go on with that.
There's so much stuff up above that ceiling.
It's almost fun to see it now before they put the ceiling in, which is supposed to be done here in the next week maybe, but man, there's a lot of stuff that's got to be laid up in there. And, you know, the workmanship looked good, and the offices look roomy. I think they're gonna have a really nice layout. They're definitely gonna have a lot more room for storage of weapons of their own and confiscated stuff. I mean, that's stuff we've never had. And then the main entrance with the bulletproofing windows and the way that's opened up on both sides, I think they've done a good job laying it out, so.
Yeah.
It looks, you know, it's dirty in there yet.
Yeah,
There'll be a lot of cleaning. I mean, there's a lot of construction dust yet, but they keep saying they're close to being on their schedule, so. I mean, I think what they were having, what was holding them up? Something's holding them up a little bit. I mean, it's either the ceiling or something, they're waiting, you know, if one guy's late getting there, it just messes everything up for them, but it is coming along, so. Looks good, Rick.
I'd like to give we're going to have a Rotary down and take a tour on the 15th of December. You wanna come with us and tell us about the situation? I invited Dean to, so.
15th of December?
15, 20 people walk through there.
What time of day you can do that?
At noon?
Yeah.
Mort, what do you have going, anything?
No, I didn't have any committee meetings. I did run into the guy that does the farming up there at Humboldt Pursuit's job, and he said they were gonna dig that, where the blockage was, they were gonna dig that open a little farther and roll a few tile out, see what the blockage was. But I know it's a big root in there is what it is, but, their engineer wouldn't let him use his equipment when he was gone, that's why they didn't call and let me know underneath the road up there. But the way he talked now, they weren't even gonna do that. They were just gonna dig it open a little bit farther and roll a few tile out of, roll them out so they can see what the deal is.
Okay.
I think that should take care of it once they get that blockage out of there. But that was all I had.
All yours, Bruce.
It's all mine. Well, I got, went down to the ISAC meeting Tuesday night and started Wednesday morning and went through the array of different meetings. I guess I started out on Wednesday morning, on, how public lands affect Iowa counties, and we don't have any federal lands in Humboldt County that we could get TILF money for.
What kind of money?
TILF, P-I...
I don't think so.
No TILF, and we didn't have any, but it sure sounded good if we could have been able to...
What kind of money you get for it?
Tilt.
T-I-L-T.
Payment in lieu of taxes. A lot of states get a lot of money from federal lands. We don't have to.
There's, I don't remember which, there was one county in Iowa that got like $60-some thousand.
I got federal land on my property. They got a lifetime lease.
But you're paying the property tax on it.
Yeah,
I see.
and I don't get a walk on it even. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And then I went from there to, went to the understanding the road use potholes and to, the ISAC general
I don't know the guy.
forum. Then went to the Stepping Up program. Are we a member of that? As far as, did you go to that jail? About the mental health and,
I missed those 2 sessions.
that was the one that,
The 302 justice thing?
Reducing mental health, illnesses in jail, Stepping Up initiative. I was gonna talk to Dean about that this morning, but they have a website that you can get on, and it is Johnson County down in, the lady gave the presentation.
Yeah, I've heard her speak before, she's given it before.
She did a very good job.
Jail intervention.
And then they went from there to the security panel on the courthouses, which they had a lot of interesting issues, talked about some of the things that other court, houses have done. I guess I'd rather not say in public what they've, but, be interesting to see how we would compare to those. And then the 2 ladies, the presentation that we sat in, they were,
What people think of you?
Excellent.
yeah, they were very, very
Oh,
energetic. It was one of them that, me personally, when it started, I was kinda cringing, thinking, oh God, we gotta do interaction, and I was sitting next to Carl, so it was like, okay. At least I know who the guy was, and then the second time, she says, all right, now you gotta deal with somebody else that you don't know, so either turn to your right or turn around. Well, there was another guy that was sitting behind me, so that wasn't so bad. Well, then the third time we did it, it was with a lady, 'cause you went the other way, and, so I had to go with...
Well, they would've looked on you.
So then every time I'd meet her out and, for lunch or whatever, then we'd sit and talk, so it was kind of, interesting to, but they were very, very good, and I think that some of the things that they talked about just an a quick review was, they said when, like, our ladies come in here to start their morning, and they're typing away on their computer, basically 90 minutes, and that's the time frame that they need to get up and go do something, get up, get away from standing or sitting, doing what they do for 90 minutes, and gives them, the brain, a time to relax. Otherwise, they just get so into a rut that, it's hard to get out. But some of the roles that they played they showed us, just were hilarious to listen to them, but you could see what was going on, so I'll let Carl.
Peggy was in there too. Peggy, the thing I came away from most of that meeting was on you learn to listen.
Right.
So many times we're thinking about what we're gonna say, we don't pay attention to what you're talking about.
Yep.
And it's really, I came away there thinking, you're gonna have to pay attention to what people are talking about. Don't worry about what you're gonna say, but listen to them. That's what I learned from that meeting. Peggy, what did you get out of there?
Yeah, it taught you a lesson, but yet it was in a fun way, so that it sunk in and made sense to you. But, I met the blonde gal out in the hallway as they were getting ready to leave, and just thanked her, because they stress thanking people for things in your life that they do that you just take for granted.
Right.
And she was very pleased that somebody came up and said something. She'd had several people do that, and
Well, and that was
Excellent
the thing that I think that we probably take for granted, that the ladies or the people that work here, that's their job, that's what you're supposed, wasn't that one of their role plays, that's what you're supposed to do? Well, they still like to hear that, thank you for your help, and you did a good job for me.
Yeah.
So, that's,
And I need to thank ISAC, because we have a lot of strong male speakers at our ISAC meetings, but we don't have a lot of strong female speakers, and I've been pushing that with them, saying, you guys, we need to get more, there's gotta be strong women speakers out there, I know there are. Isn't there some way we can get some starting to come to ISAC? 'Cause I bet you probably, I'd say 70% or more of the ISAC group are women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so,
And
they have
she
a
was
message
from-
too.
Yeah.
Minnesota. So
Yes, from Minnesota, yes,
Minnesota.
yeah, yeah.
Also, I sat in and listened on the courthouse security, the different, people that talked about the upgrades. And then I ended up that day with the water quality and the dam watch people that talked about, there's 1,600 dams in the state, I think is what the number they gave. And of the 1,600 that they monitor, this summer was, usually they said they had just a few 5-plus inch rains, but this summer they had over 303 alerts on these different dams for 5-plus inches of rain, which kind of sends their sensors on the beeping and, gets the different disaster services and stuff involved, so that was kind of an interesting. And that was, pretty much my week.
I'll try to cover some of the things that you didn't say. The thing I didn't notice down there, we sat beside engineers and conservation people, emergency management people, sheriffs. They're all mixing a lot of each representation. And you learn a lot, whether the program's going to get it or not, you learn a lot from talking to people. I went to the one on public lands too, and I didn't think that was great. Talk about women presenters, we had one from Hawaii, that wasn't too great either on economic development. So there's some good and some bad. We got into the STEM presentation. You know, that we've had the same thing here in Iowa, science, engineering, technology. And they was telling about Hawaii and how important economic development is. We could have had somebody from Iowa do just get a job. All we did was hear about the state of Hawaii, in my opinion, so there's good and bad. Public health was involved with some meetings. One of the better meetings I thought was road funding. And the engineer from, I don't remember what county he's from. Probably here in
Tama for like, he's Steel, Brim,
Lyle Brown is what it says.
Okay.
Tama and Power Sheet.
Anyway, we went through all the funding and the bridge replacements and the different funds, which you talked to us a lot about, Paul. We got down to earth again and a little bit of understanding, and I heard a lot of supervisors say, our engineer tells us about it, but we use over our head, we don't pay attention. And yet, revisited it again, I thought it was kinda interesting. Talk about federal aid classified roads, and you've done this for us too, Paul, about federal aid roads, farm to market roads, local service roads, and why you get federal aid on, and why you don't, these kinds of things, so that was a good meeting. On Thursday, we had presidential, we had Rich Inform there. There's supposed to be other candidates, he's the only one that showed up. I made a mistake of shaking hands with him, he came in the door, because I saw him at State Fair last year, and within 30 seconds, they had people all over you trying to get him a candidate. So, you walk away from that. And then we had a video on Hillary, she couldn't show it, she said her Hillary. Senate File 208, the impact that's gonna have on the county with regard to 20% property tax went through reduction. And they had an auditor from Clay County, went through all the figures up there, and how it impacts agricultural land, county government, and real estate, and so forth. And you get those figures, if you want to, statewide, I think, and put them together. That was kinda interesting. I think we've talked about the backfill may not be there someday. We're just kind of living and hoping it will be, but at least day to day, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The dam watch, you talked about that, Jim Gillespie, soil conservation people. Friday morning, I thought was really a good meeting. Rick Rasmussen from Wright County, he had the emergency manager with him. He had one of the producers, and then we had Mills County. They talked about the epidemic as related to the poultry disease. It wouldn't have to be chickens, it could be human diseases or anything. And all the things you go through and how you control the media, what you tell the media, and what you tell the public, and keep people calm. And I thought that was one of the better meetings we had there. We also had the Deputy Secretary of Agriculture there, who talked about the things you go through. We had a joke going during the meeting. We had real good meals, some good chicken. Rick Rasmussen kept saying he sent the chicken down to Mills County and they cooked it and brought it back up.
That'd be Rick.
We have to do a little humor as we go along anyway. Tony Ernst talked in on Friday morning and talked about world waters of the U.S. and how she's fighting that thing. That affects 87% of the property in Iowa, 87%. And she used the example down in St. Louis. If you was gonna build a moderate-sized house, $200,000 house, it would cost you $20,000 for a permit. It would take 2 years to get it. That's how dangerous that part of the U.S. is. She also made remarks about the military has 35,000 troops over there fighting ISIS, but they aren't allowed to go into combat. Stand there and take the bullets themselves. She's kind of irate about that. If you're gonna be there, you just want to do some damage to them. She also spoke about medical for veterans. In Iowa, there's a law, say I'm a veteran, and I've been going to a doctor, that's fine, but if I live on the borders, I can't call a doctor across the state line, or the phone advice. Iowa's got some kind of a law that says you can't call across the state line to talk to your doctor. Well, people live in north and south and east and west and out in the center of the state, may go to Veterans Hospital across the state line, so she's fighting that a little bit. Try to make a few notes here. That's about the extent. I had some good meetings, some bad meetings. We had an election office, guess what? I got stuck being president next year.
Hey,
I'm gonna be president of ISAC 2 years from now.
On the legislative committee?
And we elected Gene Miners from Sherrill to be the vice president moving up after that. And Ken Abrams from Charles City. We're gonna have to election in Charles City because he's gonna be secretary. And we need to elect somebody from our district to point to the change. But since we had good meetings and bad meetings, we've asked each district to go back and make suggestions as to what topics they'd like to have. You know, sometimes people think of interest, but they're not always interested in everybody, so you guys got good ideas of what you should talk about. I threw in just an idea, we need to talk about law enforcement in various towns. We got quite a discussion go with that. Some do, some don't, some will, some won't. We're in the minority, though, I learned that. And some of us just go, hey, you know, been doing it for years. So we need to learn those kinds of things, I think. That's about the extent of our meetings, I think, so. Again, you have good ones and bad ones, but you learn about as much just sitting and talking to people as you do sitting in the sessions. Peggy, you did some good, you led a meeting on, legislation, you did a good job on that. What else did you pick up?
Just our basic review of things coming up, replacement claims for the commercial and business property tax credits. We have an adjustment to make this year. They showed us how to go through the process of doing an adjustment. update on GASB things going on, which for most of us kinda goes over our head, but bless their heart, they always keep us up to date and give us all the information, and we do have very comparable accountants who do all the GASB stuff for us and are up on all of it, so I'll pass the information along to them. Other than that, it was just an overall very good meeting, very good networking with people. The ISAC trivia night that they had was just a lot of fun. Good group of people, raised money for scholarships for ISAC children coming up, going on to college. So, good organization.
Driving home in the snow.
I left early. I wanted to hear Joni speak, but I just was not liking how the weather was, and I drove through some icky stuff, so.
I went to see the falls, picked up my wife, went back, I missed the last two stations, but I went Friday morning, and then we went to Muscatine. Didn't see any snow until 7 o'clock that night.
Is that
So when I came
right?
back yesterday, it
Okay.
was beautiful.
Yeah, it would've been.
But some guys got scared.
We got a lot of
We had
snow out
100,
there.
150 people at that morning session on Friday, but
Yeah.
it was a lot lighter than usual.
There were about 5 of us that left Friday
They
morning.
gave Joni a hard time about, we're risking our life just to hear her talk. She talks about her day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, she goes to the gym. She's always back in the office by 7, and usually quits about 9 o'clock at night. They ask her what she ate, and she says, well, maybe I'll get a sandwich at home. It's not the glorious life you think, really.
I don't think so, yeah, I agree.
Okay, Paul, we had, decided to table the 2 items dealing with Kruger since he's home sick, so you're up. You're front and center. We'll have those next week, we hope, if Dean gets back.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Packer was messing something to do about sun shining, but I don't remember.
I sent a note on to him too.
Or it's not shining, I think.
I bet that's probably what he was thinking.
This morning, we have a couple orders of business. The first one is approved construction on county right-of-way from Tim Burris for a tile outlet to the south side, right-of-way along Kentucky Avenue, section 27, Rutland Township. He has a couple, he's got a little piece, of property in between 2 road segments. A couple of weeks ago, we did the north-south segment. This is the east-west segment. The whole total is probably 10 acres or less. At this point, he didn't want to go under the road and force the issue with a tile. He said, let's see how this does. I warned him that, the north side of this piece will be the wettest spot in his north field now once tile's flow into it, but, he's gonna see. And, I think we got, bugs worked out of it. He's got all the documents here.
I was out there a week ago when they were doing the other side and kinda saw, or Doug pointed out where they were wanting to do the other side, so I think it's worth a try. If it doesn't work, like you said, we'll have to approach it differently.
We had flags out there, 'cause we
You
had
did,
cross
yeah,
pipes,
you'd already had
with
flags
some
out there.
separation, that's why we had it flagged and located.
I wondered, I seen those out there.
We had several of these we were trying to get out of the way. Right now, we'd have to dig the snow to get to them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a white Thanksgiving and an open Christmas, who knows?
You never know.
Hopefully.
I'll make a motion to approve the county right-of-way for Tim Burris.
I'll second.
Jerry, second by Rick, to approve the right-of-way work by Tim Burris. And we discussed this last week a little bit too, so it's done next to us. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Did you ever get a call last week from Doug or anybody? Okay, I don't know if they got to that other project or not, okay.
The other order of business is approve a Humboldt County secondary roads posting for a labor position opening primarily in the Hardy maintenance area. I've worded this, and I'll read the help wanted here. We did not get any transfers. We're ready to hire and fire here, or hire away is what I should say. The help wanted Humboldt County secondary roads is currently taking applications for a laborer position. Opening is primarily in the Hardy maintenance area, but would be expected to report as needed throughout the county. We've done this statement for the last several hires. Ability to obtain and maintain a Class A commercial driver's license and a medical examiner certificate as a non-exempted interstate driver, and a pre-employment physical, including drug testing, are required. Applications forms are available and must be filed at the Humboldt County Engineer's Office at 2221 220th Street, Humboldt, Iowa, no later than 4:30 p.m., December 9th, 2015.
we've had good applications and numbers in the past, I assume we probably will.
We've had good applicants, more than...
Good ones. I know we've had some good
Hopefully, we
ones.
can still attract, good applicants, we are, what you'll hear on the radio, or did hear, would have been our temporary part-time, but we'll have two applications at the same time, hopefully not to confuse people.
Yeah.
Full-time, hardy, temporary, part-time.
Do you see Gary applying for temporary, part-time?
He can later on, he's gotta be...
He's gotta wait about a
he's
certain
got-
amount of time, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then he said he'd help out if we're, yeah.
I think
But
he
the temporary
will.
part-time, we're looking for the, a full-time, for the route operator. In other words, whenever we go to gravel roads.
Got another
this person
guy out
will be
there on
out.
gravel roads.
We like to have two temporary part-times, one to handle that route and another one to handle sicknesses, or if we're deep, we can send somebody out on Monica and put this part-timer in their route, so we try to keep everything moving. And, it's nice to have at least a couple people that would come in and work if they... It costs, it's not simply just to have them, we have to have them on our... We have to, if they're not trained, or they have to be, we have to have their medical, we have to have them in our, system for, the testing, the drug and alcohol.
Yeah, just not everybody's gonna apply for this, I mean, it takes special people to do it, so.
Well, yeah.
We got quite a discussion with Lyon County and Sioux County, talking about, they tried to steal each other's road workers.
Oh, did they?
Oh, really?
They pay a little bit more than we do, and there's a shortage.
Go back and forth, huh?
So they go back and forth trying to get each other's road workers.
It's like a bidding war or something.
Really?
So if you wanna get in bidding...
Well,
Lyon, Sioux, huh?
Just when you start the interview for the Hardy location, just remind the new applicants that Gary Elfritz only hit my mailbox once in 38 years. Him and Dick Sargent, I guess, too.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah,
We probably need a motion to approve this posting for labor.
yeah.
So moved.
Motion by Bruce, second by Mort. Those in favor of approving, posting for secondary roads, say aye. Opposed, nay.
So did we get all the, snow fence up they wanted, probably?
I doubt it.
I wondered about that, 'cause it was getting
We
kinda
snow
late.
fenced about 2 days,
Yeah, I kinda
early
figured
on
maybe
there,
didn't get it
with all
on.
the rains,
Muddy out there.
and,
That's what I was afraid of.
we're still planning on, I mean,
You'll probably
if
go
it's
back.
crossed over a little bit, they'll push posts through the crust.
Sure.
We've done that a lot of years, we like to avoid it, but, that's what, by the time you can get in there, it's not uncommon to be frozen or wet or snowing.
Yeah, okay.
Because some of them have a lot of fall work to do before we can get in there, and if they didn't get it done, we don't get it done. Out of the comments I heard from you guys this morning, I hope that if there is, questions or concerns, or if you think it's quote-unquote over your head, I welcome and encourage questions either here or after meetings, or call me or come out and visit me, so if there is stuff that you don't understand, I wanna hear about it.
It's a complicated operation for the bookkeeping.
It's just the funding and, what you mentioned as to what any specific road is, to what you can spend on it, and that's part of what the handout I gave that we built, with Mr. Reimers. In there,
that booklet, yeah.
in that booklet,
It did show that.
it just touches the fringes on this, is what roads are eligible for what, and then, those kind of things. What we have, people don't understand that what we have on the local side is local, and we also have farm to market in a VR account, and as far as that goes, federal aid.
Well, when we were, Carl and I were sitting with, was it Keith Dinklaw the other day? Sitting down there, and they were talking, there was Webster and some guys from SAC that are dealing with this pipeline.
Oh, yes.
And that was quite an interesting discussion, but they were talking, about the right-of-ways and what they're doing as far as those guys boring, and he asked what we have for our right-of-ways, if someone is to dig, like, I'm assuming Tim would be digging. Do we have anything in place that if they hook a line or something there? Are we...
Oh, yeah.
It has to be repaired back to the way that it was, so that in 6 months, we don't get a bill thrown to us that...
And certainly on something like that, it would be more complicated than our normal work in the right-of-way permit. But the long form of what you saw with Mr. Burris this
Right.
morning, it's more or less a hold the county harmless. That's
Right.
why we need a proof of insurance from whoever's doing the work, to restore. The restore word shows up there in several times, and again, it's only as good as what insurance company is behind the guy doing the work. Our insurance carrier for our liability comes and reviews us to make sure that we're getting, proof of insurances from all subcontractors that are working in our right-of-way. So that's where we harp to anybody doing this, is we need some proof of insurances. And where it gets difficult is somebody where it's a corporate communication company XYZ, they come in for a permit, they usually have a hired gun obtaining their permit, and then somebody else, either a sub or a sub of the sub, is doing the work. So,
It's complicated.
when we get the big corporate XYZ communication, we gotta watch out for it. We're running into trouble collecting on damage to tile south of town from a propane line that went in 4 years ago going south.
Mhm.
It was for our gas company, that's whose list was on it, yet where they get to it, and I haven't written any nasty letters to them yet, but, they're still trying to figure out who did the work. They're trying to collect from them first before they pay us.
Follow the chain, yeah.
This has been months out. I said, I don't care who pays this, you're on the permit.
They just drag it out.
So, yes, it is a concern, and the long-term liabilities of those are probably more than the most immediate, especially with tiles. I mean, we won't see a tile broken or the blowhole from something they missed, until years or decades later, and
Then it gets harder and harder to go back.
it gets
to it.
harder and harder to go back to them, and my concern, if it was us with this pipeline or any pipeline, is not them building it, it's what we have to do when we work around it in the future. Whether it be the county trying to do any construction or the farmer trying to add tile to the field, how far away do they gotta stay and those kind of things. And if those are ironed out, I would feel a lot better about that proposal on their behalf, but,
I asked him just what the depth is, and he says, well, we're not even sure.
they won't, because they're supposed to be going below the tile zone. Well, up in here, you see the tile zone, oh, let's see, that whole quarter section has now been pattern tile. So if they wanna be 2 foot away from the tile is 3.5 foot deep, they gotta be at least 5.5 feet deep to the top of theirs, so...
Or then any other future tile projects, they gotta look ahead. If you run mains through, the main, we got a main out here that's 35 foot deep, so it can be anywhere from 3 feet to 35.
Well, or then they gotta be above or below. I
Yeah.
mean, there is a buffer zone on these things, and that would be my concern, and for once, we don't have to fight the battle for that. We had our fight with overhead, similar fight, eminent domain, there are
Right.
existing lines, all the same things apply, who's responsible, and why should the individual county get stuck with the tab?
Well, when you drive along those electrical lines, and look, a lot of time that wire's right over the road now, that arm stretches.
So that limits our
We're very-
capability, and...
We try to express that concern, and we don't.
And we would have to push it if we had if we ran into a cost that exceeded normal cost, then we could push it, and in our permitting and in state law is on our side for recoup the damages.
Bruce, the way Keith told me was at our drainage district meeting, they're met with the pipeline, of course, and in their county, they're gonna basically do all the engineer study on where county mains, where they would lie and where in the future, and then the company's paying for all that. They'll have it documented, so they'll have it in writing, so everybody understands in the future if something needs changing, where it'll be.
And I can see cheaper...
But I understand that.
For the pipeline company on these things, the cheaper solution would be to parallel either side. With
It would
mains.
make, yeah.
On anything that had any roll,
Stay away from
cheaper
it.
would be to, they would
Go and
just...
put a new main in.
Parallel theirs with something agricultural up high, parallel the thing and be done with it, would be cheaper than burying the whole tile, the depths they're gonna have to go under the
Yeah,
tile.
'cause then they're going up and
But
down and up and down.
The good news is, it's not in
I was
Humboldt
gonna say,
County.
that's the best news.
Yeah, once in a while we get a break.
Yeah, but it'll come. We'll have different things. I mean, we had, in the seventies more, we had a big issue with the tile that came up, south, from north of Gilmore City, south of Bradgate, diagonally south of Bode, all the way through with that big anhydrous pipeline and not being deep enough in a dredge ditch, by Gib Nelson's, I believe, and Rick Copper just ran through that with the same pipeline where we did the clean out, where they said, don't worry about it, it's 5 foot below the stream bed, and they got up to it with the clean out. When the soil started falling over, there's the pipe.
You know, we're talking about the concerns we have, and we are all concerned, we want to do it to the other guys, but we didn't have that transmission system, whether it be electrical or gas lines or pipelines, our cost of product would be awful high. You know, we got pros and cons of it. You know, you talk to the guys who got the pipeline through the county, they're all shook up. But I think I'd rather take a chance on that than meeting the pipeline on the highway all the time, or train, railroad drive.
No, and I see both sides where there's some direct benefit locally. If there was a terminal somewhere in between, then, but when they're pumping it from A to B trans-state, who knows? That's a whole different thing. We need infrastructure, we're doomed.
But all in a nutshell, we're good on the
Always, all of that would be proven in court.
Right.
And it's, the document is only as good as it's written and how far you wanna take it.
Oh, maybe you help me out on that.
Because somebody would sue you that the sky's not blue. They'd say it's light blue, it's not blue.
Right.
When we talked to the engineer from Tama, Lyle, he got talking about all the different funding, and if I understood him right, I always thought there was a difference, if we have a bridge that we take out, and we're gonna put a box in there, we don't get funding for that.
That's correct.
He said that's not true, he says he does it all the time. It makes no difference whether I put a box back or put a bridge back. I don't know how he's doing the figures.
Well, it's not if it's 20 foot, depends on...
Less than 20 footers.
If it's less than 20 foot, it doesn't count toward the, BR funding.
Oh, so that would be...
It's not a bridge.
So the bridge that was there is already isn't a bridge if it's under 20 foot.
Right, but if you replace the bridge to a box, we're not getting the BR funding for it.
For that bridge or for the whole?
For that particular structure. Most of these that we've pulled out are no longer, and in the long haul, you don't have to inspect them. They're not federal aid eligible, but you don't have to meet federal aid requirements. So there's offsets, you don't have to spend the $150 every other year to inspect them. There's trade-offs, just the guardrail, maintaining the guardrail alone.
That's huge.
Would offset the funds that you're not getting anymore, so, yeah, it isn't eligible. We have a few of them that are big enough, we have a twin 12x10s that's now inspected.
It's considered a bridge.
Because it's considered a bridge. We're looking at trying to replace our burnt bridge with a large box that will be skewed enough that it'll be just about or just over 20 feet, because it might be 14 or 16, and with enough skew, then...
Becomes 20.
But if it's less than 20, you don't make any difference on funding.
That's maybe where he's coming from, all that.
Because he came up to me afterwards, because I asked a question in general session, and we were talking about less than 20 feet.
There you go.
That's what it's...
That's the difference.
That's the way that the Wright County guy was explaining it too, is it's less than 20.
No, some of the things, there isn't such a thing as free lunch, and by the way, I'm glad we don't have any federal lands, because I think they're in the rears for many years compared to paying just straight tax.
They have a hard time collecting it.
Yep, they're behind, and that's why these lump sum payments is because they didn't get paid for 12 years, and boom.
They get 60,000 all at once or something.
In some of the states like Oregon and Washington, half the revenue from some of those counties come from...
Federal
Federal.
But there's a lot of acres
Grazing, a
involved.
lot of grazing acres.
Even dealing with Union Slough and a road matter through the middle of the slough, it takes all the extra permitting, drainage districts up there, with the Union Slough. Yeah, I'm glad we don't have it.
You're thinking of not putting in twin culverts up there?
No, we might be...
That's a lot of water, and that's...
14 by 14 or 16 is pretty
Big.
good size. So we'll try to get a single if we can in there, and then drop back to doubles if we have to.
Me, Tuesday also.
And I should be trying to get a budget and a 5-year plan amendment to you next week. I need to get that out of here, because we're looking at final check.
Okay, that done by a certain deadline.
Check plan turn-in is, the 5th of December, and we need to get something programmed, to them.
Paul, you got bid opening on,
Tomorrow.
at 10 o'clock.
Right here?
Mhm.
Okay,
How many people have to be here? I can't be here, I gotta go.
I'll be here.
Do we get a quorum if we do?
I think I'll be there.
I'll be here.
I can-
Okay, let's get an agendized, and then
I
if we
have a
have a
question to
quorum.
ask you.
Because then it's safer to have it as a, although there'd be no action taken, it's, safer to have it, we'll receive the bids, we'll announce the bids, and we'll award the bids the following week.
Right.
Be the goal.
Sounds good. All right, anything else this morning before we go to the work session for, conservation?
Peggy, just so you know, 'cause I told the rest of them, County Social Services will be meeting in Humboldt in January, and it'll be at West Fork Services, and it'll be a 10 o'clock meeting, of course, and I'm not sure, just, we're kinda wondering if it isn't in that where they used to do the cans and stuff, if that's a meeting room now, I haven't been down there,
Okay.
so I'll check with Kathy, and we'll have to find out, I mean, as a group, they go and eat somewhere too, so I'll see what Kathy's thinking on this, but just thought I'd give you a heads up, and
Just sometime in January.
I'll be the new chairman in January, so
Oh,
I'll
great.
have to say something nice about our county, I guess,
You
so.
betcha.
Anyway, I just let you know in case anybody with staff wants to, I'm sure Kathy and her people will be there.
Sure, okay.
Couple other upcoming meetings, on December 4th, we have the drainage conference in
Good.
Fort Dodge at noon. And on the 3rd, we have the district supervisors meeting in Charles City. That starts about 9 o'clock in the morning. So we got those two sessions
Busy
next
month.
week.
Definitely busy.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Has anybody signed up for Charles City yet? Anybody going?
I don't know, I went
It's on
last year,
Thursday,
I
we
know.
come back and go drainage on Friday.
Yeah, I have a drainage meeting that day.
The same day?
Third?
Third,
I have
and the fourth.
I got a CFR in Webster City, so
Okay.
I won't be able to go up to Charles City.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out where we are to light our legislators or not, but nobody's going, they can ride with me, I guess, but last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, me and you went
think we
last
might
year.
go.
I got the day open, put it that way.
Good. And I've asked Chris to put together a packet of information
Mhm.
for us to pass out. We're probably one of the few districts in Iowa that still have a meeting, most of them have petered out. We still get 25 or 30 counties represented up
That's
there.
awful
Yeah,
good.
and you have some pretty good discussions up there about different things.
And one of the things we're going to do is ask them what kind of program they want for next year, for ISAC.
Good idea.
Anything else this morning? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Mhm.
Next week, we'll put Dean